The disaster in Afghanistan should be Israel's signal that they can stop counting on America. Israel is prepping to uproot a vineyard in Samaria next week, a move which will obliterate at least half of one farmer's income for the next 6 years. We've got all the latest Israel news coming up right here at the Israel Guys.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of fake news, you should connect to the true and authentic stories of Israel. Guys, go ahead. You know what to do. I mean, just...
You know the thing.
The thing. What's the thing? The thing is subscribe, click, leave a comment.
Good.
Luke, I'm working on my lines, but yesterday I did this like 15 times and I never got it right.
Hit the
ding. Hit
notification
the
bell.
Notification bell. Go ahead and do that, guys. We love comments. By the way, go ahead and just comment away. We love questions, thoughts, even former shows. What do you got questions about? We love answering those questions right here at the Israel Guys. Luke, there's so much to talk about today. From Taliban, Hamas, to fire, to vineyards. We're going to try to cover it all today. So,
yes.
Luke, here we go.
By the way, you should support us on Patreon or at our website at theisraelguys.com because that is how we're able to produce this content 100% free on social media, on YouTube, and podcasts, so many different platforms. Our goal is to always keep it free, but we rely on the support of people just like you. Patreon.com/theisraelguys or at theisraelguys.com. Links in the description below. You can actually get one of these awesome mugs if you sign up as a monthly supporter. So go do that. It helps us out tremendously. Josh, we're talking about the Taliban and Hamas, the disaster that happened in Afghanistan.
That's right.
Completely crazy, but we're looking for how it relates to Israel and how it is affecting Israel and could affect them in the future.
Yeah, we're going to ask a few questions here, guys, on how this is going to relate to Israel. Right now, we're going to talk about how Hamas literally congratulates Taliban on their, let's just do the quote here from the Hamas website. Hamas congratulates the Afghani people for defeating the American occupation in its land.
That key word again, occupation. Hamas is comparing it to what they view here in Israel, Gaza Strip, West Bank, talking about the occupation. But if that doesn't give you a little bit of a clue, obviously, I think people would probably put the Taliban in a worse category than Hamas, but I think it's really important for people to understand Taliban, Hamas, exactly the same. They're terrorist organizations that are interested in destroying Israel, America, and Western civilization.
Correct. We see obviously the congratulations. I mean, there's like,
right.
They're brothers in this. We have the Taliban reportedly praising the Hamas group as well. And this is the quote for them. They're praising Hamas for their steadfast opposition to the Zionist enemy. Now, what in the world? You wouldn't even, okay, so what's Taliban, and Afghanistan worried about the Zionist regime? Well, it's all connected. Iran, the whole front against creating the Islamic jihad all over the entire Middle East. Well, and I would say their goal even over the entire world. That's alarming, but that's the real truth. We have Iran. We just spoke about Iran a little bit. Iran's Supreme National Security Council Secretary, Ali Shamkhani.
Good guess.
Okay. He said the fate of the U.S. in Vietnam and Afghanistan, he went way back in history a little bit. I mean, not way back, but back in history. He quotes the failure in Vietnam and Afghanistan will be the unchangeable fate of the occupying Zionist regime, too. So once again, we have Iran, along with Taliban, congratulating and Hamas and saying that mixing the Zionist, bringing the Zionist into this defeat against the U.S. military in Afghanistan. A very interesting connection on how they actually see it. They see the United States being an ally to Israel. They see this as a massive win, not only against America, but against Israel, as America being an ally of Israel. This is a bit alarming.
Well, I think people need to understand all of these groups, these terrorist groups, have the same goals.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned before. I mean, you have Taliban, Al Qaeda, linked to Al Qaeda. They are all supporting each other, supporting Hamas, the Muslim Brotherhood. You have Iran and so many other Islamic Jihad terrorist organizations, and their goals are to, impose Sharia law, and destroy Western democracy and Western civilization, with their number one target being Israel, number two target being America, and then other than that, just destroying everything about Western civilization.
Luke, I want to make because the effects of the Taliban's victory is on the region is fairly big, and I think this is the reason why. Let's just get a little bit about the Taliban. Taliban is an Islamic fundamentalist group that has history of supporting Al Qaeda, which routinely threatens Israel as well. So all these, as we talked about, they're all connected. We have specific a picture. We're going to pull this picture up where the Taliban, this Islamic group, is together with Hamas.
Right.
We have
right.
the two leaders. The two leaders are together here. And here's the fear. We're going to talk about the effects of the Taliban victory in the region. The fear is that this is going to encourage the rest of them.
Right.
Okay.
Even if the Taliban has huge victory, overcoming 300,000 troops in Afghanistan, U.S. trained troops, right?
Yeah.
And just overrunning Afghanistan, overrunning the capital. Everybody knows complete chaos, people dying. Now Christians being persecuted and killed and martyred in Afghanistan within the first couple of days. So what you're saying is because they're also supporting Hamas and inevitably supporting Fatah, which is the Palestinian Authority, this gives the groups here in Israel, Gaza Strip, West Bank, more fuel to do what they're doing.
Let's look at it like this, Luke. If Israel has a victory, America has a victory. It's allies. When allies fight together and they have victories, it's a victory for the other, right? Well, when the Taliban has a victory, it's a victory for Iran. It's a victory for all the Muslim terrorist Islamic groups in the world. And this is what we're seeing happening right here. It's a victory for Hamas when the Taliban, it's, same story, group, attacks in Afghanistan and wins a major victory against America. So because of this, it's like a shot in the arm. It's like a boost to the terror efforts here, literally in the land of Israel. So that's the biggest thing that I see. Not only because they're not like overly connected. It's not like they're sending money back and forth and we don't see that. Right. At least we don't know about it.
Right.
But I think what the biggest thing is it's a victory in the region for the cause of Islamic jihad.
Right.
And that's the biggest issue. And I believe in the Arab world, it's like they've got the smell of blood, and it's like, go. Like, this is time to fight. We have a victory for Allah's name, right? This is what they're like. Now we have to be very watchful and careful, security forces around the world, about terrorist attacks, global. This is getting potentially. I think we will begin to see this, and we need to be very watchful.
And Israel should be very worried because they're a whole lot closer than the United States is.
And I think, Luke, and also with the fall of the government, the U.S. Attempted creating a democracy, right, in Afghanistan, this is what we're going to see. If we're going to look at the near future, we have Iraq right on the verge of the same situation. In the very near future, we see that falling apart as well. We need to look at the Gaza Strip, and I think anybody that wants to know what this looks like in the future, look right at the Gaza Strip.
Yeah.
When a Islamic jihadist group takes over the government and everything falls apart, you've got Gaza. There you go. That's the test, and we're going to see that begin to happen in the Middle East. It's going to be in these areas. You're going to see a Gaza-like situation.
So, is there any good that can potentially come out of this?
I think so. I think that the potential good is that every American, at least every true red, white, and blue American, is stepping out saying, "What in the world? Not on our watch. This kind of thing can't happen." And hopefully, I believe that the administration is going to rethink their thoughts about leaving
policies
Iraq and Syria.
their other foreign policies.
I think they're going to question.
Hopefully, Iran. I mean, that's a big one right now.
Yeah.
Iran is so close to a nuclear bomb. It's
I think they're going to question whether they should pull out of Iraq and Syria, and they're also going to tighten sanctions potentially. I mean, who knows? This government's going to get quite crazy.
Holding my breath.
There is a potential with this ruckus and the American people throwing such a fit over, what in the world? We're just pulling out on people we really had trust in us.
Right.
There's potential that the Biden administration will try to tighten and look strong in these regards, which that majorly affects Israel. Israel needs America right now to stand up against Iran. That is a major threat in the region, and America needs to tighten those sanctions.
I want to read a quote from Arlene Kushner out of Jerusalem that I think sums this whole whole topic up really well. Quote, Americans will get over the humiliation they may feel about the disaster in Afghanistan, but allies like Israel must draw conclusions about the decline of the United States as a world power. Washington is giving every indication that it is a declining world power, drifting into an incoherent and ineffective stance against Iran's terrorist threats and nuclear ambitions, as it has done in Afghanistan. We hope and pray that this is not, that this will turn around, like you're saying, and that the United States will rethink their policies in Iran and Iraq and Syria. But at the same time, we've seen a lot of this is a huge blow, a huge downfall. 20 years in Afghanistan and all gone within a few days.
Which I also want to say this, Luke. The Americans, this is very quick. The Americans, Afghanistan is very far away from America. Right. Oceans away. Israel is a different story. America's presence in Afghanistan was a major help to Israel. Right. For instance, let's just lay this out very quickly. We have Judea Samaria. We have Fatah, terrorist organization Fatah, Hamas down in Gaza. We have Hezbollah in the north in Lebanon. Like Israel's surrounded by terrorist organizations, and now another one is on the scene. And there's many more.
Yeah,
but another one on the scene, just borders away. Now the Taliban, that obviously in our quotes before are very hostile to Israel and Israel's existence, even.
Right.
That's a problem.
Josh, we need to talk about a vineyard about to be uprooted here in Samaria, but real quick, we need to tell you guys about T-shirts. We have a really awesome The Israel Guys T-shirt, but I wanted to explain why you should buy this T-shirt and wear it proudly. 2 reasons. Number 1 is because this identifies you as that Israel guy, as those Israel people, as the people that unequivocally, unapologetically, unconditionally stand with the land and people of Israel. And that's who we are. That's who we want you to be as well. If you're a subscriber, a listener, a supporter, you are the Israel guys. So that is a major reason to buy this T-shirt right here. We also have stickers that say the same thing. If you put one of these stickers on your bumper, if you put it on your computer or your water bottle, you are saying, I'm an Israel guy. We're the Israel people, and we are not apologizing. We're standing unconditionally. So that's number 1. Second reason is actually purchasing products from our store actually helps support the show as well. In addition to supporting and donating, buying stickers, buying T-shirts, we're working on more products, actually helps us produce more content straight out of Israel's heartland. You can get all the brand new products, T-shirts, stickers, bumper stickers at theisraelguys.com. Head over to the store there. We have other amazing products as well. Purchase a T-shirt for yourself or a sticker. I'm the Israel guy, and help support the show and help us produce more content straight out of Israel's heartland. Link in the description below, but it's theisraelguys.com.
Luke, also wearing the Israel Guys shirt is actually it's a major statement. It's like, I don't know, right now, if you're in certain parts of the world, it's like just putting a big bullseye on your chest.
That's right.
Like, you know what? And I think that's what needs to happen.
That, yeah.
You need, like, how
By
else
the way,
is tyranny stopped? How else is this ridiculous rhetoric stopped? It's when enough people say no. Right? And that's what we need. Right. Americans, that's who Americans are. Americans, Israelis, people that stand up for their rights.
Right.
Get the shirt.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Get the shirt and stand up and say, I'm an Israel guy.
The reason we don't have shirts or stickers is because this show is in Israel, and it's really hard to get products over here. International shipping is crazy, but we're working on it.
We're going to start wearing it for the show.
We're working on it. So, yeah, you guys can actually get these much easier than we can. So take advantage of that opportunity. TheIsraelGuys.com. Josh, we need to talk about a vineyard potentially, probably, most likely being uprooted here in Samaria. This one hits very close to home because these are farmers that we know very well in the Shiloh Valley area right here in Samaria.
Luke, I was literally just in these vineyards, 2 or 3 days ago?
Yeah, some of our team is out there right today.
Yep. We literally, this is like our home grounds. And when I saw this piece of news come across, that it hit me in the just deep down. And I'm telling you guys, this is unacceptable. It literally cannot happen. Next week, we cannot see nearly 42 acres, 170 dunums of vineyards destroyed. It's like there's something in me that says, absolutely no way, not on my watch. And if you feel the same way about that, Luke, what's our action point? I mean, what do we do? Let's make an outcry. Share this video. Like, seriously, we've got to make an outcry about this. This is unacceptable. Right. Literally, this land is Area C. It's land that in the Oslo Accords, if you want to go by the laws of the Oslo Accords, which are ridiculous anyway, literally the land was allotted to Jews. These Jews came on the allotted land for Jews and planted a vineyard for Jews. The Arabs in the area said no, it's Arab land. Well, their case was dropped because there was no validation
let me
for it
explain the
whatsoever.
situation real quick, okay? Give you guys backdrop. There's a crazy law, and it's called the, where did I have it? Sorry, hold on. Oh, it's called the Disruptive Use Order. Basically, if an Arab or someone, which in this case it's always an Arab, comes and lays claim to a piece of land that a Jew is farming, using, building on, then the law calls for the Jew to be evicted and whatever he had built there to be destroyed, right? Okay. The High Court Justice Edmund Levy has highly criticized this law, and it's actually been discontinued for a number of years because it's crazy, right?
Luke, we're in Israel.
It might sound sensible if someone lays claim to a piece of land and then they prove ownership of that land, and then the other person that's there would be evicted. That sounds pretty sensible. Like, that's not this law. This law is Arab lays claim to the land, Jew has to be evicted, okay? That's why they discontinued the law, and it was highly criticized by a high court justice here in Israel. Well, guess what happened? For some crazy reason, maybe because the left is very emboldened by having a liberal government in power right now, Arabs laid claim to this land, 170 dunams in the Shiloh Valley in Samaria, which is farmed by the Achia farm industry. They do olive oil, they do vineyards in Shiloh. And I believe they started this claim in 2006. Well, the High Court ruled that in this case, the Arabs failed to prove ownership of the land. And then the judges approved the Disruptive Use Order, which calls for the eviction of the farmers and calls for the uprooting of the vineyard. It absolutely makes zero sense. It's no justice at all. Arabs still have not proved ownership of the land. Guaranteed they're not going to get the land. It's just, and what's even worse about this, 170 dunams is 42 acres. The grape harvest is literally starting like this week or next week, meaning that this entire year's harvest on these 42 acres, which is 40% of the Achia farm's
which is the largest farm in the area.
It's a huge farm. We're talking Israel, folks. It sounds small, but it's huge here in Israel. This is almost half of their farms, and they're going to destroy it before they have a chance to harvest the grapes, meaning that is almost half of their income, not only for this year, but guess what? Next year's the Shemitah. They can't replant anywhere else. And then guess what? Even if they plant the year after that, it takes 4 years for the vineyard to grow. So you're talking about 6 years of half of this farm industry's income being completely destroyed. They've been trying. It was a last-ditch effort. They've been trying to negotiate, okay, we'll move over here in the process of the next 2 years because we got to get this year's harvest in, and next year's the Shemitah. We can't replant, so give us, like a year and a half to work on this. We'll find some other land. And the court came down and said, no, you have to, we're going to come and destroy it. Actually come and uproot this vineyard during the middle of the harvest, probably before they have a chance to harvest the grapes, as early as next week.
Guys, what I want to say is that there's nothing hidden about this. We're telling you the full story. There's not like there's...
But you're not going to hear it in the news.
No, what I'm saying, there's not even other evidence behind the scenes that's like, oh, they actually are guilty about something. No, this is the full story. This is Jewish land.
Here in Israel.
Guys, what I want to make emphasis is we're not in Germany in the 1930s and 40s. The story we just told was Germany 1930s and 40s. It was Europe. Jews in Europe, their stores were closed, their land was confiscated because they were Jews.
Right.
We're in Israel, and literally the courts are like a German court in the 1930s and 40s that are saying, no, because you're a Jew, you can't farm the land. That's how unbelievable this is. We're back in the land of Israel, and the Jewish people are farming the land, and yet the Arab still has, under Jewish sovereignty, the Arab still has control over the land. Like, it's mind-blowing.
Guys, I want to give you an action point, okay? We're going to cut this section of the video out and post it on all our social media platforms. You guys can go there and share this video widely. Add your own messages, add your own plea for help, but get this out as far and wide as you possibly can, because if thousands of people make an outcry, that actually makes a huge difference.
Luke, can I say something as well?
So make sure you do that.
This is the vineyards of Shiloh, Shiloh of the Bible. If you think that that's not Jewish, what is Jewish? Right. Okay, guys, this is the cry.
Well, there's
save the Shiloh
historical account of the vineyards in Shiloh going back 3,000 years ago.
This is our cry, Luke. Save the Shiloh vineyards. Save the Shiloh vineyards. If you're with us to save the Shiloh vineyards, Cry it out.
Yep,
Just shout
do
it out. Save the Shiloh vineyards.
And that leads me into the next topic, which is very much connected. And I want to talk just a little bit about Naftali Bennett and Yair Lapid and the state of Israeli politics. I call it the fall of Naftali Bennett and the rise of Yair Lapid. This is my opinion, okay? And I was kind of an advocate for Naftali Bennett a few months ago, but
I know,
just
I told you
showing
you were
his
wrong.
colors now.
I told you all along.
Thank you, Josh. Yes, you were right. I was wrong.
Thank you.
Probably. We'll see. Latest poll numbers showing, Naftali Bennett only winning 7 seats, which is what he won in the election. But he is prime minister. You'd think after a few months, his approval rating should be going up. Well, guess what? They're tanking. Here's why. This is why, according to my opinion. Naftali Bennett was defense minister, very strong before in the past. He has stated, he's on record saying that Gaza cannot mess with Israel. If they fire at Israel, Israel will respond right away. Well, guess what? Gaza shot rockets at Israel, and Naftali Bennett decided not to respond.
Well, of course he decided not to respond. He wants to be prime minister.
Because he knows that the Ra'am party, the Arab party that's a part of his coalition, has threatened that if Israel responds to Gaza, they'll drop out of the coalition and the whole government falls apart, and he's not prime minister anymore. Okay, that's number one. Another thing that's going on, you may have heard Israel is probably going to approve 2,000 housing units in Judea and Samaria for the settlements. It was supposed to be 3,000. They haven't convened the committee in a long time, so this is like way overdue. It's less than what it's supposed to be, but guess what else is happening? They're approving 1,000 houses for the Palestinians in Area C. Now, you might say, what's wrong with that? That's nice, right? No, it's not, because here's a couple of reasons. Area A, B, and C, okay? The Arabs have millions of homes in Area A and B. Those are their primary places that are designated for them to build. They've also built tens of thousands of illegal structures in Area C, and everybody's calling for the government to put a stop to it. So now Israel has decided that they're going to just approve 1,000 housing units in Area C and approve less than they should be for the Jewish people in the settlements.
This is unprecedented, Luke. This doesn't happen. You don't approve housing units for Area C. It's against the law. Like, the law is that Arabs don't build in Area C. That's for Jewish
under the
people.
codes, they are allowed to build. Like, it was
in
allowed,
Area C.
yes, for Palestinians, but a little bit, because the Area C is number one for the Jewish people. You'd think that it would be Area A and B for the Palestinians, but and Area C is for the Jews, right? Well, under the Oslo Accords, Area A and B is primarily for the Palestinians. Maybe they could have a little bit in Area C, but the crazy thing is tens of thousands of structures are illegal in Area C for the Palestinians,
how about
and yet
Jewish
they
homes
want
in
to
Area
push
C?
it more and more and more.
How about Jewish homes in Area C are not even approved? What about Jewish homes in Area A?
Yeah, exactly.
What if we just flip this around? We don't have time for that.
Maybe apartheid, right? In the meantime, Yair Lapid is quietly making a positive name for himself. A couple things that happened lately during the forest fires, which we're going to talk about in Jerusalem here in a second. He made a big deal about calling for foreign aid from other countries, which put him in a really positive light, which it seems a little strange as the foreign minister that he's involved in fighting fires. But he's calling for foreign aid. Thankfully, got the fires put out. And he also just secured the release of an Israeli woman that was jailed in Peru for the last 2 years, which is something that the last government did not accomplish. Yair Lapid comes in, and he secures the release of this Israeli woman. Latest poll numbers showing Yair Lapid's party winning 18 seats in a new election, which is really good. So
good for him. I don't know if it's good for the country.
My opinion, Naftali Bennett's hands are completely tied.
Yeah, he can't do anything.
I don't know what his personal stances are anymore because he's leaning so left, but he's definitely not strong enough to stand on his own 2 feet because he knows he won't be prime minister anymore and his government will fall apart. In the meantime, Yair Lapid seems like he's making a really good reputation for himself.
Unfortunately, Yair Lapid is one of the most leftist on the scene, which, being prime minister of Israel, we could see a new day, unfortunately, coming if Yair Lapid's prime minister.
Well, he will be prime minister if the government holds together.
That's
he's slated to be, yeah. So
Luke,
we'll
we got
see
to
his
talk
true
about
colors then.
True colors coming out. Hopefully, who knows? The political scene is absolutely wild. Luke, we got to cover the fires very quickly. 5,000 acres of forest were burnt in Jerusalem. A winery was burnt to the ground.
Harp shop, burned to the ground.
Harp shop. I mean, my gracious. This fire was started by Arab arsonists. Once again, we got terrorism right here. We've seen it. We've seen it over and over and over again. Wake up, world. This is a form of terrorism.
I just want to say, because this is actually good news in the end, thousands of people evacuated, houses were destroyed, and they thought this fire was going to be another just crazy fire that they were not going to be able to put out. Well, the way the fire was literally put out and the day was saved is for the first time the Israeli Air Force deployed a Shimshon C-130J Super Hercules aircraft to fight fires. This airplane dropped 16 tons of fire retardant on Tuesday this week to help put out the fire. This project was like still in the pilot stages, but so I guess they weren't planning on using it, but they decided the fire was big enough that they got together and they decided we're going to go ahead and try this, and I think the mission was a huge success. So if the Hercules aircraft is like added to Israel's firefighting services, it could actually double their airborne firefighting capabilities. So I thought that was pretty cool. We got an awesome picture of the airplane at work here on the screen. So good news happening. Guys, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share, make sure you comment. We need your help getting the word out. This is super important information. We're cutting through the lies and negativity and the fake news out there in the mainstream media. As always, we encourage you, tune out the fake news and tune into what's actually happening here in Israel. We'll be back next time right here at the Israel Guys. Hi guys, thanks so much for watching. 2 quick things before you go. 1, smash that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the notifications bell so you don't miss out on any more of our content. Secondly, if you want to help us produce more stories and authentic truth straight from Israel's heartland, you can do so at patreon.com/theisraelguys or at our very own website. It's theisraelguys.com. Both links are in the description below.